Have you ever felt the weight of pain so heavy it crushed the breath out of you, but still forced to smile because you knew the world wouldn't care? That quiet moment when everything inside you screams, but outside, you hold it together like nothing happened. That's not weakness, that's survival. Life doesn't pause when you're hurting, it keeps going. And the world? It's watching, not to comfort you, but to measure you, to see if you flinch, to see if you break. Because the brutal truth is this: the moment you show your pain, you hand people a roadmap to your vulnerability. And once they know where it hurts, they know where to strike. But this isn't about hiding who you are, it's about protecting who you're becoming. When you act like nothing hurts you, you don't deny the pain, you dominate it, you strip it of its power. You take what was meant to break you and use it to sharpen your edge. It's not about being fake, it's about being unshakable. Pain doesn't define you. Your reaction does. You could cry, you could scream, you could beg for someone to see your struggle, or you could stand tall, say nothing. Let the silence speak. That's when people stop looking at you with pity and start looking at you with awe. There's a power in being unbothered, in walking through fire and showing no burns. You begin to carry yourself differently. People sense it. They don't know your story, but they feel your strength. That strength isn't loud. It's not theatrical. It's calm, steady, focused. You become the one who doesn't complain, the one who doesn't chase sympathy, the one who just keeps going. That kind of energy intimidates weakness. It silences doubt. It demands respect without ever asking for it. You might be wondering, why should I pretend nothing hurts when I feel like I'm falling apart? Because pretending isn't lying. It's building. It's choosing. Choosing to rise instead of crumble. Choosing discipline over chaos. Choosing long-term strength over short-term comfort. And here's the reward. The more you carry yourself like nothing can break you, the more unbreakable you become. The mind follows the body. The spirit follows the command. You start believing what you project, and what you believe, you become. That's why you need to stay with this message. Because by the end, you won't just understand how to act like nothing hurts. You'll feel why it matters. You'll learn how to turn your deepest wounds into your greatest weapon. You'll stop waiting for life to ease up and start becoming stronger than anything it throws at you. You'll become the version of you that doesn't need pity, doesn't crave attention, doesn't chase approval. Just power. Calm, quiet, unstoppable power. So if you're tired of breaking, tired of explaining, tired of being seen as weak, then stay, because this is where you change, right here, right now, starting with the decision to act like nothing hurts, even when everything does. The moment you stop reacting is the moment you start leading. Life is full of people trying to get a reaction out of you, testing your patience, your confidence, your control. Not always out of malice, sometimes just to see what you're made of. They push, they provoke, they watch. And if you rise to every insult, flinch at every threat, break under every setback, you show them one thing: you're ruled by emotion. But when you stand still, when your eyes don't shift and your voice doesn't tremble, when you absorb every hit without giving them the satisfaction of a reaction, that's when everything changes. You become more than a person in pain. You become a presence that commands space. People are wired to search for weakness. It's instinctual. They do it subconsciously. Even the kindest ones. They want to know who's solid and who's breakable. And when they see you standing firm, unmoved, they start to doubt their power over you. They question their assumptions. They realize you're not like the rest. That quiet resilience, it speaks louder than any argument, louder than any scream. It tells the world, I've been hurt, but I am still here, and you will not see me fall. You don't owe the world your breakdown. You don't owe them your emotional mess. You owe yourself your control. Because self-control is more than discipline. It's a declaration. It's saying, I own what happens next. Even when everything inside you is on fire, even when the pain feels unbearable, the ability to remain centered gives you leverage no one else has. It makes you untouchable. Not because you feel no pain, but because you've mastered how to hold it. This doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've trained yourself to respond with purpose instead of reaction, to let time pass before words leave your mouth, to take power back by refusing to be predictable. That's what strength looks like. Not fists clenched, not words shouted, but stillness that speaks for itself. You become the person they can't read. And when they can't read you, they can't control you. That mystery builds respect. That calm makes people rethink their approach. And eventually they stop testing you. Because they realize you don't break. You can't control what people do, but you can control how you carry yourself. And that control builds over time. Every moment you choose to be still when you could lash out, every second you hold your center when chaos invites you to lose it, you build a fortress inside. That fortress becomes your protection. It keeps you safe when everything else crumbles. And when the world tries to shake you, you don't need to scream. You don't need to prove anything. You simply let your silence echo louder than their noise. This is how you rise. By mastering your reactions. By turning restraint into strength. And by acting like nothing hurts you until even the deepest pain bows to your will. Every time you refuse to flinch, you earn a layer of strength that no one can take from you. The world will not stop trying to expose your softness. It will come at you in subtle ways: doubt, rejection, betrayal, failure, and in louder ways: humiliation, disrespect, dismissal. Each one is a question disguised as an attack. Will you crumble now? Will you show them your weakness? Will you let your emotions drag you down in front of an audience waiting to see if you'll fall? You must answer without words, with composure, with dignity, with silence that burns deeper than shouting ever could. Because how you react determines how much respect you command. This is the test everyone faces, whether they realize it or not. Life wants to know if you are as strong as you say you are. And if you show it everything, your pain, your anger, your sorrow, it will take all of it and feed it to those who never deserve to see you exposed. But when you show nothing, when your face stays still, when your voice stays calm, you rise above the game. You stop being a target and start becoming a force. There's a reason the strongest people are often the quietest. They've learned that power doesn't need to perform. It doesn't need to shout its story. It shows itself in control, in poise, in the ability to absorb chaos and remain unmoved. That doesn't come naturally. It comes through discipline, through pain, through choosing strength when weakness is easier. When you want to lash out, but instead you breathe. When you want to break down, but instead you build. That choice creates a version of you that others can't touch. And here's the shift that changes everything. When you start seeing tests not as punishments, but as proof that you're being shaped for something greater. Every insult is a chance to level up. Every rejection is a lesson in resilience. Every painful silence is an opportunity to master yourself. You're not losing, you're transforming. With every moment you act like nothing hurts, you're telling life, you cannot move me unless I allow it. Eventually, the pain starts to lose its grip. Not because it stops, but because you stop feeding it. You stop reacting. You stop needing to explain your story to anyone. The world doesn't need to understand what you've been through. It only needs to see what you've become because of it. And what you become is forged in fire, but cooled in stillness. Strong, solid, unshakable. That's why your restraint matters. That's why your stillness is sacred. Not because it hides your pain, but because it proves your power. You are not here to be easily read. You are not here to be understood by the small-minded. You are here to lead yourself past every test, past every doubt, past every moment that tried to bring you to your knees. Stand, without flinching, and let the silence make the world take notice. You become dangerous the moment you no longer need to be understood. When you stop explaining your pain, your silence becomes your armor. Most people speak too soon, reveal too much, search too desperately for comfort. They want validation. They want someone to say, I see your pain. But power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from seeing yourself clearly, deeply, and choosing to rise without applause. That's the edge most never reach, because it's easier to break out loud than to rebuild in silence. It's easier to collapse into sympathy than to stand alone in strength. But you're not here to take the easy path. You're here to become the version of yourself no one thought you could be. When you stop looking outward for strength, the energy you once wasted on reaction begins to build inside. You start to feel the shift. You're no longer moved by other people's moods, their judgments, their disrespect. You observe it all like a storm you refuse to walk into. You feel everything, but you let nothing control you. That's control. That's real confidence. Not loud, not performative, but rooted deep in the choice to be unfazed. Not cold, just untouchable. This doesn't mean you don't struggle. It means you've stopped performing your struggle. You've chosen discipline over sympathy. You've chosen growth over comfort. Because what lives on the other side of pain is not just peace. It's power, the kind of power that doesn't need to be proven. It just is. And the only way to earn it is through restraint, through the quiet choice to act like nothing hurts, even when the weight feels unbearable. That choice builds a mental fortress brick by brick. Every time you stay calm under pressure, every time you hold your emotions instead of spilling them, you reinforce your inner walls. That fortress becomes your protection, not from life, but from weakness. You begin to speak less, move with more intention, and carry an energy people feel before you say a word. That's the result of self-command. That's what happens when pain is no longer your master, but your motivator. You stop letting it lead you and you start using it to carve discipline into your bones. Every scar becomes a lesson. Every loss, a sharpened edge. You're not becoming numb, you're becoming refined. Eventually, people start to treat you differently. They sense the boundary. They realize they can't manipulate you with pressure or emotion. They see that your silence is not emptiness, it's strategy. And behind that strategy is a person who's been through fire and came out colder, wiser, and stronger. That's the reward. Not applause, not praise, but presence. And once you gain it, you never chase approval again. You don't need anyone to say, "You're strong." You already know. You act like nothing hurts, not because you feel nothing, but because you've earned the right to be unaffected. That's power, and it's yours now. There is a shift that happens when you finally stop needing fairness. When you stop expecting life to be gentle just because you've been good. The moment you stop waiting for understanding or justice, you begin to access real power. You stop playing the game of reaction. You stop giving your energy to disappointment. You don't throw your emotions out into a world that doesn't know how to hold them. You carry them with intention. Quietly, strongly, you take your pain and press it into your foundation. That pain becomes focus. That focus becomes discipline. And that discipline becomes character. Nothing shapes a person more than the ability to suffer in silence and still choose excellence. Most people never reach this level. They react because it's easier than regulating. They speak because silence feels uncomfortable. They fall apart because composure takes too much practice. But not you. You've felt the edge of breaking. You've lived through moments where holding it together was the hardest thing you've ever done. And you did it anyway. That's the difference. You've chosen to become the person who doesn't need to be seen crying to be strong, because your strength is silent. It's internal. It's real. You don't rise by accident. You rise by choice, by refusing to flinch, by standing tall while your mind whispers every reason to collapse. And still you don't. That's power. Not loud, not obvious, but undeniable. People may never understand how hard it is to carry yourself like nothing hurts, but you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because your destiny demands it, because the life you're building requires more control than emotion, more direction than reaction, and more fire in your spirit than fear in your heart. So stay calm, stay sharp, and remember, pain only owns you when it shows. Let them wonder, let them doubt, but never let them see you break. You owe no one the privilege of watching you fall apart. You owe yourself the right to hold your ground, even when everything inside screams for release. Strength isn't loud. Strength is restraint. It's the discipline to hold the storm inside and still walk like the sun is shining. That's what makes you unstoppable. Because when you learn to stand tall with your heart heavy, your mind tired, and your soul stretched thin, and no one even notices, you become something different. You become rare, unshaken, self-led. That's a kind of power you can't fake and no one can give it to you. You earn it. In the moments when you could fall but you rise instead. The world isn't kind to the fragile. It doesn't slow down for the broken. You either grow strong enough to move through it or get swept away. And strength doesn't come from comfort. It's born from resistance, from pressure. From the days you wanted to scream but chose silence, from the nights you were exhausted but still showed up the next day like nothing touched you, that's where self-respect grows. Not from what you feel, but from what you master. And pain, when carried right, can shape you into someone unstoppable. Most people want release. You want control. Most people seek sympathy. You seek clarity. And that's why you'll rise while they remain stuck. Because you don't ask the world to make it easier, you get better. You don't show weakness to feel better. You build strength to be better. There's a difference. A deep one. And every time you choose to act like nothing hurts, you put another brick in the wall between you and anything that once had power over you. There will be moments when your silence feels unbearable. Moments when hiding your pain feels like it might break you. But remember, Pain is not the enemy. Reactivity is. Pain teaches. Reaction weakens. When you hold pain without reacting, it transforms. It deepens you, sharpens you, turns your suffering into structure, your wounds into wisdom. And eventually, what once tried to destroy you becomes the very thing that elevates you. This is not about pretending, it's about evolving. Pretending is shallow. Evolving is deep. You're not faking strength, you're forming it. With every breath you take through clenched teeth. With every step you make while your legs feel heavy. With every time you smile with a heart that aches. You're building something no one can see, but everyone will feel. Presence? Power, pressure turned into purpose. That's what you carry now. Let others speak about their pain if they must. You'll show your transformation through silence, through action, through results. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be unshaken. The one who stands when others fall. The one who controls what controls most. That's not ego. That's command. And the deeper your pain, the stronger your presence. If you choose to rise, stay calm, and let nothing show. Power belongs to the one who holds it quietly. Not the one who demands attention. Not the one who begs for validation. But the one who walks into chaos with still eyes and an untouchable presence. The kind of presence that doesn't need to speak because it's already heard in silence. That's what happens when you master the art of moving through life as if nothing hurts. You create distance between the world and your emotions. You create strength in the gap between what happens and how you respond. And in that space, you find something most people never reach: control over yourself. Self-control is the highest form of power. It means you're no longer driven by impulse, by insecurity, by pain disguised as pride. You're not here to be ruled by feelings, you're here to rule over them. Because emotion is not a leader. Emotion is a signal. You feel it, you observe it, but you don't obey it. You use it. And the moment you stop reacting just because you feel something is the moment you become truly dangerous. Not to others, but to your limitations. Because they can't live in the mind of someone who thinks before they speak, who breathes before they act, who pauses before they strike. The world teaches you that being emotional means you're real. But what it doesn't teach is that being ruled by emotion means you're controlled. And you're not here to be controlled. You're here to lead, to direct your life with precision, not passion. Passion burns out. Precision builds. The ability to appear untouched when life is attacking you from every angle is not denial, it's discipline. It's the refusal to break character when your character is all you have left. When the weight gets heavy and your silence gets louder, that's when you find your true edge. Your edge is where you stop shrinking to be understood, where you stop explaining your pain, where you stop looking for someone to recognize how much you're holding, because the recognition you're waiting for can only come from you. When you know what you carry, when you've seen what you've survived, you don't need applause. You need alignment. You need the version of you that doesn't seek sympathy, but strategy, not noise, but clarity, not escape, but execution. Every day is a test of whether you'll let the world shape you or whether you'll shape yourself. If you react, they win. If you respond with presence, you win. And every time you do, you rise. You build more silence into your system, more calm, more grit, more control, until eventually you no longer just look unbothered. You are unbotherable because you've been through the fire and taught yourself how not to burn. You felt the storm and still chosen the path of poise. That's power. Pure, quiet, unbreakable power. And that's what lives in you now. Let it lead, let it grow, let it become who you are. What you tolerate, you empower. Every time you let your emotions run wild, you reinforce the idea that they own you. Every time you show pain to the wrong people, you hand them a weapon. And every time you crack in front of pressure, you teach your limits that they are stronger than you. That's not how you rise. You rise by reclaiming the parts of yourself you scattered in moments of weakness. You rise by collecting your silence and wearing it like armor, not because you're hiding, but because you're building something deeper than words, something that doesn't ask for approval, something that doesn't seek to be seen, something that exists only for one reason: to overcome. You weren't made to beg for peace. You were made to become the source of it. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. The kind that walks into war and still breathes slowly. Slowly? That kind of control takes practice. It takes breaking the habit of reacting. It takes killing the urge to prove, to defend, to explain. It takes becoming comfortable with people misunderstanding your silence. Let them guess what you're thinking. Let them wonder what you're feeling. That mystery is your edge. When they don't know what moves you, they can't move you. When they don't know what hurts you, they can't hurt you. When they don't know where your weakness is, they can't find it. That is the psychology of strength. That is the mindset of someone who cannot be manipulated. Ooh. And yes, it will feel lonely sometimes, because silence can be heavy, because not reacting can feel like not fighting back. But don't confuse stillness with surrender. Your restraint is your resistance. Your calm is your rebellion. And the longer you can sit with discomfort without showing it, the more power you take back from the world. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to prove your side. You don't have to explain why you're distant. You just have to keep moving forward like none of it ever touched you. That's your revenge. Not noise, not rage. Progress, presence, power. You are not here to be emotionally transparent to a world that weaponizes vulnerability. You are here to be emotionally intelligent, to know when to hold, when to act, when to speak, and when to stay silent. That intelligence is your freedom. And the more you master it, the less life can rattle you. You stop flinching. You stop fearing what people think. You stop needing to be understood. Because you understand yourself, and that self-trust is louder than anything they could ever say. Keep building that strength. Quietly, relentlessly. Every time you keep your power to yourself, you reinforce it. Every time you keep your face still while your soul fights battles, you rise. And when you rise like that, no one can stop you, because they can't even tell you're in the fight. But you are. And you're winning. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. Real power doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek the spotlight. It doesn't beg to be seen. It moves in silence. It builds in the dark. It grows in places no one watches. And when it arrives, it doesn't announce itself. It changes everything. That's what happens when you decide to act like nothing hurts. You stop living for the approval of the world and start living for the respect of the person you see in the mirror. That's where the transformation begins. When you stop asking for strength and start becoming it. Every emotion you don't let control you adds another layer to your foundation. Every reaction you don't give becomes another step toward mastery. You begin to feel the difference between being triggered and being tested. For the difference between being provoked and being guided. Pain is a test. Chaos is a test. Betrayal is a test. And you either let those things harden you from the outside or sharpen you from the inside. What you choose determines everything, because life will not stop throwing punches. The question is, will you absorb them and stay standing, or will you fold every time your feelings get touched? Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just sitting with yourself and refusing to collapse. It's the discipline to walk through a storm and not show the weight it's putting on you. It's the ability to take insult, betrayal, disappointment, and still respond with focus. That's what separates those who survive from those who rise. Everyone feels pain. Not everyone knows how to use it. But when you do, it becomes fuel. It becomes drive. It becomes the thing that teaches you what nothing else can, how to lead yourself when no one else is guiding you. No one is coming to make it easier. No one is coming to explain your value to the world. That's your job, and it's done through action. Through control. Through your ability to show up unfazed. Not because nothing hurt, but because you refuse to let it leave a scar on your future. That's the kind of power no one can take from you. It's not surface level. It's not temporary. It's not performative. It's earned through endurance, through grit, through silence that screams, "I will not break." You weren't meant to crumble under pressure. You were built to channel it, to hold it, to thrive under it. And every time you act like nothing hurts, you're not ignoring your pain, you're disciplining it. You're putting it in its place. You're using it as a teacher, not a master. And one day you'll look back and realize that the version of you who didn't react, who didn't flinch, who stayed calm in the storm, that version of you is the reason you're unshakable now. Not because you were never tested, but because you passed over and over again without letting the world ever see you bleed.